Because of the following CBS News special report, the program normally seen at this time will not be presented today.
Nowhere in the world today are we more aware of the inseparability of the problems of a people involved in fighting a war and building a nation than in Vietnam.
If I live 100 years, I'll just never, ever be able to tell the story the way it really happened.
I expected to get wounded, which I did. You know, I remember my drill sergeant always kind of said, "Well, you probably get wounded, but just don't get killed." You know, that kind of thing. So I was okay, and I was good for a couple of months, and that's why Tam Ky was really hit me, because I never had anybody killed until then, and that hurt. But that's Army. That's war. You know, you get over it, you go. But I'll never forget it.
We were in Vietnam to fulfill one of the most solemn pledges of the American nation. 3 presidents, President Eisenhower, President Kennedy, and your present president, over 11 years have committed themselves and have promised to help defend this small and valiant nation. Strengthened by that promise, the people of South Vietnam have fought for many long years. Thousands of them have died. Thousands more have been crippled and scarred by war. And we just cannot now dishonor our word, or abandon our commitment, or leave those who believed us and who trusted us to the terror and repression and murder that would follow. This then, my fellow Americans, is why we're in Vietnam.
Well, my son was taking film and theater up at UCLA. I was his major, and he had a writing class, and he kept asking me to tell him about Vietnam, and I just didn't want to. I never would. So, but I've got a computer, and I've got the Word. I learned how to use it, and I started to put it down on paper, what I went through, and Tam Ky has always been pretty much the highlight. I was pretty well gung-ho the first few months, but Tam Ky, honestly, to be honest with you, took the wind out of my sail. After you have people killed, it's just, you start thinking, you know, is it worth it? And I don't know, that's a hard part about Vietnam. It's like, whoa, after 10 years, you know, did we win? Well, I don't know, I think we did. You know, being a student, you deferred the draft as long as you kept your student status, and I liked that. I didn't want to go to Vietnam. But on the other hand, I didn't want to, if you got married and had children, you didn't have to go. Wasn't into doing that. I didn't want to go to Canada, so I finished my 2 years and got my degree, and I was getting tired of school, tired of the books, and I said, "Ah, heck with it." So got my notice in the mail, welcoming, congratulations, or whatever it said. Got drafted. That's how it happened. Went to Fort Ord, California, did my basic training, did my AIT, Advanced Infantry Training, at Fort Ord, and from there I qualified. I was the most valuable trainee out of 210, 220 guys. So that was my ticket to OCS. And I thought, well, you get an extra year in the States, you know. And I figured, so by the time I get out of OCS and my year in the States, the war would probably be over. Well, no, I was wrong. I ended up in Vietnam at the worst year possible, 1968. More casualties in, I think, 1968 than any other year.
There are no front lines here. The war is everywhere, against an enemy that is seldom clearly seen. In these scenes of casualty evacuation, the enemy is not far away, certainly within shouting distance.
Not long ago, I received a letter from a woman in the Midwest. She wrote, "Dear Mr. President, in my humble way, I am writing to you about the crisis in Vietnam. I have a son who is now in Vietnam. My husband served in World War II. Our country was at war. But now, this time, it's just something that I don't understand. Why?
I'm sure my mom had some reservations, but there was no crying. He just went. And some of my friends had already gone, and I'd already had some friends killed, some of my close friends from Santa Maria, a lot of casualties. So I wasn't looking forward to it.
There can be no question that armed insurgency on a large scale is taking place, aimed at the destruction of a people's national independence. It is the policy of the United States government to advise and assist the people of the Republic of Vietnam in their struggle to defeat the communist insurgency which strives to eradicate their freedom.
Everybody, most of the soldiers were 18, so 19. And I was considered the old man in my platoon, just being 24. You know, I didn't think I was that old, but compared to all the young ones, they were just kids. That's the way it was. We helicoptered in the night before. We laid down smoke. The helicopters were laying down smoke for our combat, for the assault. No casualties the first day, so we call it RON, Army term for remain overnight. Spent the night, and the next day our job was to make contact. We knew the NVA was in the area. We had a village surrounded, and we were sweeping the team, and I was on the outskirts of the perimeter, and VC, black pajamas. I just looked up to my right and I saw this shadow blur coming through, and so I just opened up on him. Killed him right there, and myself and another, Lieutenant Elliott, he also put about 50 rounds into this guy's torso. He had so many bullets in him that I went up to check to see if he was dead, and I kicked him in the chest, and my foot went all the way in, and there were no ribs left, like a Raggedy Ann doll with broken glass in it. That was the first human I killed. I killed a lot of others, but not as directly. With the artillery and airstrikes and cobra strikes and sweeping places. I'd killed other people before, but not up close and personal like that. I don't know how many I killed, 50, 100, something like that. I didn't want to count. Vietnam was the kind where you did not see who was shooting at you. I'd say 90% of the time, especially when you're out in the jungle.
It's a dirty war, fought without uniforms on a battlefield without boundaries. A war where the friendly farmer you pass in a rice paddy may become the murderous enemy the instant the sun goes down. Some of the Viet Cong guerrillas are hardcore communists, prepared to die for a cause in which, unfortunately, they sincerely believe.
I saw what didn't look right out in one of the rice paddies. It was just a bush, and it didn't look right. Well, it was an NVA doing his thing, you know, taking a dump. So we took him under fire, and as soon as we did, then our position, they knew where we were, so we started taking fire. So we backed off. Backing up, my machine gunner got hit in the back, came out of his stomach. So it got pretty busy. We were taking a lot of fire. I was throwing my head around, dragging John, and I guess that's when my glasses came off sometime. My machine gunner was hit. I was ducking and dragging and throwing my head around, and just so many bullets were flying through the air, and you could hear the crack, crack, and I don't know how they just flew off. You know, I was moving. I was moving my head and bobbing, weaving, and they came off someplace. I don't know when, but I wasn't about to go find them. I just hunkered down with John. He had been hit. All we could pretty much do was just get down low. Otherwise, we would have been killed. So did the best I could to tape up John, used my field dressing, used his for the front and the back, and called in our positions.
680. 100. Start 680100. 6801.
Command knew where we were, but getting to us was a problem, and I didn't realize it, but the captain had some tanks and some APC carriers with him, and it was a pretty rough jungle. There was clearings, but they had a hard time finding us, basically. And it was John's idea. He had a Zippo lighter, like we all carried. Most of us smoked. And he said, "Sir, why don't you try to light that hooch on fire?" And there was a little hooch not far away. And so I had the grenadier. He was out of ammunition, and I was a little upset with him because he didn't carry his basic rounds. That's why I had to send a rifleman across the open area, and he got shot. He went down. I had him crawl up and light the hooch, and it lit. We were out of smoke grenades, and we had no canisters. We were low on everything. My rifle had jammed. Yeah, had a 45. The fire, the hooch, the smoke went straight up, like about a half dozen smoke grenades, and we had a forward air control in the area, a pilot, Air Force, I think. He spotted it, and finally he came in and he directed or put some Willie Peter white phosphorus rounds near us, so we had air support. And so a couple in those days, F4s, I think. What I had left of the platoon wasn't many guys, maybe 12, 14. We attacked another hill and got online again. And I wasn't real excited, but that's what we did. So this time we didn't have much resistance. We suppressed, and we had airstrikes and other things to help us out. So we took the hill. That was our mission. We completed that. So we made another assault, and we put platoons online. This is what we used to do in Vietnam. I just get online and put a shield of lead out, and going into a tree line. This was another, this one I got wounded. The MBA threw a grenade. I thought it was a Chi-Com. I didn't see it. I didn't have my glasses. I couldn't see anything anyway. So I was hit in the left arm side, and my medic was hit in the head. He died. I lived. Pretty simple. But while I was on the ground, I crawled up to our medic, Mike Sublet, and I didn't see any wounds, no blood. I couldn't figure out what happened, so I just started doing mouth-to-mouth. That's what we did in those days. We didn't do CPR, we just did rescue breathing. And I must have done it for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour. I didn't mind being on the ground. If I would have got up, we wouldn't be talking. I remember when we took the hill, somebody up on top of that hill said it was the Chi-Com grenade that got me. And that's one of those things with a stick. But again, I didn't have my glasses. I couldn't see too well. So I don't know to this day. I don't know. I've still got shrapnel in me. I guess maybe I could check it out, have it taken out. But they just said, I'll leave it there, not do anything. Missed my Ranger tab. If I was told in Ranger school that would have stopped the lead, but well, anyway. That was just a little humor. It wouldn't. After we killed everybody in the first trench line, that's when I smelled the burning flesh for the first time, the odor of death. We had some GIs that were in a track, and when we went up to Tam Ky, the engineers or some of the tracks got hit pretty bad. I don't think they had infantry to help them out, and so we were. Part of our job was to go up and blow this track up that was still up there, and the engineers did that part, but we had to go out and secure it. So getting to the track, that's when I had 3 killed. But after we cleared that and blew the track up, then we had to go take this hill, which was not that far away, but we had to go across some rice paddy, which was open area, no cover, and here we go again. You know, I just had 3 killed and others wounded, including me, going online, but we were doing it again. So before we hit the trench line, the guys were hesitant. We were just hanging out in the middle of this rice paddy, and so I got in front. I was covered, my whole left side was bloody, just bright red. I just basically raised my arm up what I could and said, "Follow me." And off we went. I hit the trenches, and I thought I'd get blown away. But there wasn't anybody in my 8 meters or whatever. It was clear, and then the other guy started hitting the trench, and then I felt a lot better. But that was a start. We had to rake the hill. We had a lot of airstrikes, and it looked like all the bombs and napalm and everything else. It was eerie. Just no leaves on the vegetation and holes where the bombs were hitting.
It's what was needed to even up the odds, and the infantry action is positive and powerful in destroying the remaining enemy. We have our casualties, but our fatalities from combat-inflicted wounds have been cut to less than 2% because of the speed with which a wounded man can be moved from the battle zone to skilled surgical help. While the Navy corpsman gives emergency aid, a medevac team is being brought in by that mechanical angel of mercy called the helicopter. Usually less than 30 minutes after being hit, a seriously wounded man is in the operating room, either at a field hospital or aboard the USS Repose, a hospital ship that has been a welcome addition to our medical facilities in the combat zone.
The other guys were like on and off. Scotty got hit right between the eyes. It was just, he was gone like that. He didn't suffer. Heine Willis, at least 3 rounds through the torso. He was gone quick. Mark Ellsworth, machine gunner, he half his face gone. They died quick, but John, he just bled out slow. But that's one thing I'll never forget that part. I was with him all the time, and he was alive. He didn't look very good, but he wasn't dead when I got him on the medic, when they took him away. But that's why when I called back to the rear that night, Sergeant Tom Lincoln, I asked how John was, and he said KIA, and I said what? And he phonetically Kilo India Alpha. So that hit me hard. Now the other guys, I'm sorry they're dead, but I couldn't have done anything about that. I could have done something about John. It's always tough with John, especially. I told him I wouldn't let him die, and I let him down. I think our body count was over 300, but like I said, that was it. I'd give all 300 back if I could. Poor guy. Okay, that's the worst part. Okay. Hurts me to this day. I don't like responsibility, not like I used to. I mean, I just don't want to have to be responsible for somebody else. After I did the best I could, but damn, the guys that didn't make it, I'll never forget them. But so I think it probably affected me in that way, where I've been married 3 times. I'm kind of a loner. I like to go out and have fun, and I have some friends, so it's not that I'm okay, but I just I don't like responsibility too much. I can probably say that.
Anti-war demonstrators protest U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War in mass marches, rallies, and demonstrations. Central Park is the starting point for the parade to the UN building. The estimated 125,000 Manhattan marchers include students, housewives, beatnik poets, doctors, businessmen, teachers, priests, and nuns. Makeup and costumes were bizarre.
Well, coming home from Vietnam, that was a real trip. The war wasn't popular at all. Rioting back home, Kent State, I think it already happened, Woodstock. I couldn't wait to get out of my uniform because we were not popular, and that was not a good feeling. But even my own dad, there was a sticker on the bumpers that Yankee come home. That was my dad. He was a printer. He printed a sticker, Yankee come home. And he told me we didn't belong over there. That hurt a lot, because after what I've been through. But there were no parades, I'll put it that way. After 10 years, you know, did we win? Well, I don't know, I think we did. If you count body count, we did. We killed a lot more of them than they killed of us, so we won in that way. But yeah, that was Vietnam. Pretty. Now here we go again in Afghanistan. That's not my war, so I don't know what's going to happen.
This is the sort of thing, and all Americans in the area know it, with which we simply have to contend while we prosecute in company with the government and people of South Vietnam a contest against communism, which is of the highest importance to our national interest.